And we are in draft. Let me swap on over to this.
At least for one game, I don't want to be seeing Cassante and Mbessa spammed. Please.
We did see Cassante in a few of the test matches, and it didn't actually go that well. Right away, we're seeing the
You're a
Yorick
fan?
ban. This is something that in our test games was highly picker banned. People figured out really quickly that Yorick is one of the strong power picks of this format.
Also seems like some red team scouting has happened as they've banned out Zoe.
I'm gonna be completely honest. I have not done my research on all of these teams. I don't know if
I very quickly looked and they play a lot of Zoe on blue side.
I see. I see. The
The
TK
Virus,
ban, Echo ban.
the Virus has quite a bit of Zoe play history. From what I remember seeing.
And a Mundo ban. So blue side really prioritizing some of those side lane 1v1 threats.
And they do not want to face a tank that could just run it down a lane.
And on the other side, we have the Trundle ban. Trundle was another one of those champions that showed a lot of dominance in our test games. We saw a lot of those side lane champions really run amok. So I wonder if it seems like both teams are kind of aware. I wonder if either team will lean towards picking something like that.
I do feel like the blue side advantage that is found in normal 5v finds is probably diminished slightly with not having any junglers at play. As objectives will be much more of a team-based objective rather than someone being able to solo it.
We've got a first pick Darius. That's a little bit
Expected.
bold. In a world where there's no junglers, I feel like a blind Darius can definitely be counterpicked. We're gonna see
And
instant
a
Caitlyn
ranged
response.
champion. It could work into Darius as long as they outspace it. As if that is as if it's a head-to-head matchup.
We see Caitlyn Gwen, so definitely going for a little bit of that side lane pressure. Caitlyn who can hit the turret with that long range, get some early plates down, and then Gwen who can, if the game breaks open at any point, she could probably end the entire game in about 20 seconds with this specific format.
We do see the Akali, so both teams are picking up AP and AD rather than just going full all down in one path.
I am a little bit interested in where these matchups are going to go. I have to imagine that the Caitlyn's going to go into the bot lane. Something interesting that I've noticed is that it seems like a lot of the teams, even though it's a 3v3 format, and we're going to be seeing less supports and less jungling, it seems like a lot of the teams are still hesitant to really mix it up. So, like in a lot of our test games, we've been seeing like, oh, well, if a team locks in a marksman, they always go bot, and if they lock in a bruiser, it always goes top, and then teams look to have a mage in the mid lane. So I'm wondering if this will come back to bite them. Like if we look at the red side's team, they literally have a top laner, a mid laner, and a bot laner, whereas it seems like blue side went for more of the lane dominance, three kind of laning champions.
It is to be expected with blue side being the higher ranked players coming into this tournament, though, that they'd probably just want to try and win lane.
I do see a little bit of a world where matchups could be a nightmare for that blue side, though. I know that especially Darius can struggle into champions like Hwei and Caitlyn if they can space out his E well. I think if you're blue side, you would love to see the Akali match into that Caitlyn potentially.
For sure. But even the Camille would be fine if they are able to win early game. But if that Camille falls behind, that would also be a horrible matchup into the Caitlyn.
Yeah, I feel like I'm seeing a world where if Darius ends up not against the Gwen, they could really struggle, and that's kind of why I was worried about that Darius first pick. Is that if they can't find one good lane matchup, then maybe we'll be able to see red side, who I think has a little bit more of a consistent comp. Maybe they can take a lead going in.
They might also spice it up by sending the Caitlyn down the mid lane, though, however.
You do have to wonder though, because one of Caitlyn's advantages is that because she has the long range, a lot of Caitlyn players love to hit those turrets early, and the mid lane and the top lane turret has that extra damage fortification, whereas that bot turret doesn't. Now with the new season, they did nerf it a little bit, so the top lane and mid lane fortification that lasts for the first 5 minutes of the game is now only 50% instead of 85%. So if they wanted to send Caitlyn top or mid, it could work, but usually the strategy you would see is that whichever champion is going to get access to that turret, you're going to want to put them bot lane.
It'd also be interesting to see what runes people go, because Demolish could have very high value in getting turret plates.
Demolish is a very important rune. We saw in some of the more winning strategies, we would see upwards of all 6 players taking that Demolish rune. It can be a little bit difficult to go Demolish on Caitlyn because she just straight up outranges the rune. I think the rune is a range of maybe like 500 or 550 or something like that. But everybody else, I would be pretty surprised to not see it. I'm thinking there's going to be a lot of Demolish second wind setups.
We've been on about the Caitlyn range, but they also have Hwei, who also has extremely great range as well. The issue is unless the Gwen is immune, they do actually need to make sure that the Akali and Camille don't just one-shot the Hwei and Caitlyn if they get the 2 items.
Yeah, and I do think that Hwei's range will help him out a little bit. He also has a lot of area control tools. So his QE, for example, a lot of his W abilities can help protect him. I think that as this game goes longer and longer, the Hwei will be more useful. We've seen a lot of different types of stall comps try to come through, and control mages like Hwei are great at stalling out the game. I think we could definitely see a world where we just get to a point where Gwen and Caitlyn are taking over the game entirely if blue side can't get those winning lanes to find a meaningful advantage.
Yeah, even though Hwei might not be able to might not be able to win the lanes, he would be a good threat, especially once he's got to his first item, especially if it's any burn item at clearing waves and denying any inhibitors from being taken.
We're about to head into the game here. Gotta get those logos up. If you're cheering for teams based on logos, if you don't know anything about any of these teams yet other than their logos, I think that Firelight Legends is definitely winning that logo battle, whereas no way, that's crazy. Maybe you could have put some more thought into it.
They did pick Hwei. It is in their name.
They did pick Hwei. You know, I didn't even think about that.
It might be fated that they win because they have a Hwei.
Press Alt-Z to use game overlay. If you're considered leaving me alone, do you think about that one?
Now, it is interesting to see that Darius has gone without teleport.
Yeah, that was something I was definitely worried about. I would have preferred to see a teleport ghost coming out from the Darius, or maybe even the teleport flash could have been decent into the double ranged, but we do find that unless your champion has some kind of extra roaming ultimate or roaming tool, that not having teleport can be a pretty big deal.
Now, unless the Darius does some off-meta tank build, we are looking at a lack of tanks in this game, however. So having any form of early game damage will be a bigger threat than if there was a tank.
I mean, Camille can go somewhat tanky. The current build is that Trinity Force Ravenous Hydra, and the Ravenous Hydra for the sustain, Trinity as health, and then I've been seeing a lot of Camille's go Sterix third, and at that point she's pretty much just a tank. And then we also have to think about that new item that got released, Bloodletter's Curse. We know in the past that Tank Akali has been a threat. I wonder if she'll be itching to try out that new item. While we're in the early game here, let's take a look at some of these rune setups. So the Camille went Bone Plating Shield Bash.
No, Demolish picked up.
Akali has Second Wind Overgrowth. And then Darius has blue runes. Obviously, Nimbus Cloak a good rune for Darius, but I'm wondering, with blue side having no Demolish, how that's going to feel.
The Akali is somewhat to be expected, though. Facing into a mage, it does make sense to have the Second Wind.
Yeah, and actually, as I look a little bit closer, it seems like nobody has Demolish. I wonder how that's going to go.
Choice is yours.
Lane matchups here, what do we think?
I feel like the Caitlyn getting into the Camille is a much better matchup than into the Akali, but obviously you would have preferred the Caitlyn in the bot side into Darius. But they did stay hidden in the bush, so I didn't see each other necessarily until the lane has fully started.
Yeah, no, I am a little bit curious as to what Caitlyn is doing in the top lane. I mentioned it briefly earlier about that turret fortification. Now she's going to be stuck top lane. It makes you wonder because I feel like Caitlyn is going to do a lot of work against Camille early, but if Camille can get to level 3 without much trouble, then the Caitlyn might start to feel a little bit stressed out.
Now the Akali's already sustaining a laning advantage. The Hwei's starting to go into the turret. The Akali's probably the best threat from roaming in this entire game, or the Camille. Red side's kind of stuck into their lanes with what picks they've took.
Yeah, and we're seeing kind of expected already that both mid lane and bot lane have push, whereas for red side it's that top lane that has push. I do feel like if red side could have gotten the Gwen and the Caitlyn to swap, it would have felt a lot better.
The Gwen definitely could face up into the Camille much better than into Darius in most situations. Especially in the early levels when the Gwen has no items.
Ooh, the E miss there from Akali. That's a pretty good trade for Hwei.
Ali has gone with the door and shield, but after that extra hit from the Hwei, there is a threat now. Both potions used in the mid lane before either of the upper lanes.
Wait, what was the deal with that Caitlyn trap setup? She had the 2 traps next to each other there. That's kind of funny. Maybe just preemptively worried about the Camille E wall strike, but it just looked silly. Oh shit, that's my bad. I forgot to play ads before the game started.
Now, if the Hwei and the Caitlyn ever are able to get into the same fight, they can work together really well to set up Caitlyn traps. And the Hwei and Caitlyn have took synchronized back, so it'd be interesting to see if they switch lanes with each other.
We're seeing a TP come out. No, it does look like the Hwei is just going back to where he was. Oh, but the Caitlyn's going bot.
As expected. They are switching.
And this is that matchup that I wanted to see. I wanted to see that Caitlyn on the bot turret going against Darius. Caitlyn does told to be careful. Darius has Ghost Flash, but other than that, I think this is what they wanted.
And the Gwen's able to TP back to top lane because the Caitlyn push denied any push back into the tower while the TP happening.
Now, I guess the Gwen did struggle into the Darius pretty hard, though, because I'm noticing that she's significantly behind everybody else. Not necessarily in levels, but only 11 CS stings.
It does sting, but having the fact that the XP is on the same is relatively important for Gwen. Being pushed off of XP might have been a bigger factor. Now, blue side does have full TP advantage though, as all of the TPs from red side have been used.
Wonder if they could do anything with it though. Those Void Grubs are spawning soon. Void Grubs tend to be a pretty important objective. I guess for me it depends entirely on what happens with the top and mid push here. Caitlyn's definitely going to be pushing in that Darius, so if she wanted to move up for the Void Grubs, it is an option. I don't know if it's the best option, but something to think about.
You'd probably have to get at least 2 waves fully stacked though, even having any ideas of it.
Yeah, and that's another change that they made coming into this season that we did not get to see in testing. Ooh.
The Camille is on the same side as the Akali.
Level 6 Camille.
Ignited and ultimated. The Akali finds the gank.
Yeah, and I don't know if Akali needed to flash there, but a good first blood coming out. The roam, because of that TP advantage, she just TP. Oh, wait, Darius flashing in?
Misses the Q.
So if we take stock of what happened, the Akali did manage to get the first blood, but she burned her TP for it. Doesn't really seem like Camille's going to get much push. Neither side was able to get the Void Grubs off of it, so other than the gold, you don't really feel like red side really lost much.
But it does push the Gwen back further. Now, the Gwen gets back without TP and still was able to collect the wave. But Camille having TP does mean she can come back and not miss any experience herself. So now an experience lead is gaining in the top side of the map.
In terms of the new feats of strength feature, it is nice that blue side got that one, but with the way that this game is going, I feel like that getting 3 objectives is gonna take quite a while. So if blue side, we'll have to keep an eye on those turrets. If blue side can manage to take the first turret, they're gonna be in a great spot. But if red side takes the first turret, I think that the first blood really won't amount to very much.
Now, no plates have been taken just yet, though, however, so there's no team really getting towards that second feat of strength.
Yeah, you would love to see Caitlyn stack up some waves and try to hit the bot turret. I can understand why she would be scared, you know? Darius still having that ghost. Because Darius chose not to take teleport, and because they traded flashes with each other earlier, if that Caitlyn oversteps, Darius can just run her down. So I can understand why she's not wanting to hit the turret, but it does feel a little bit bad that that's not an option for them.
It has been very safe from the Caitlyn so far, just pushing in each wave rather than stacking them. Because trying to stack them is the best chance Darius has. Now Hwei is able to move away from the Akali, so no real threat there.
Ooh, Camille could look for an all-in here.
Gwen is found on the wrong side of the map, and there's a minion advantage as well. And ultimate's back online as well.
Oh, ult's blown from the
amazing
Gwen.
trade. It was a good trade though. Stops any threat back onto herself.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised Camille didn't try to fight that. If she went for the all-in and then ulted Gwen's R3, I think she could have won that.
Especially without lifesteal on the Gwen just yet.
Now Gwen needs to be careful here. It looks like she doesn't really know what to do. Maybe thinking about diving, but I think if she dives, she's gonna die.
For sure, I don't think there's any dive threat really. Now this Hwei has successfully pushed in the Akali, but the Darius roam has been gone unspotted. A great fear comes out, but the Hwei uses the wrong ability to get out of there.
Has flash.
Does flash, but the Akali doesn't hit the ultimate.
That's a real
And the
shame.
Darius
If the
gets
Hwei managed to hit the R on the Akali there, I think she would have died.
I think Hwei also misused abilities. He used Q instead of W for the boost speed. Potentially would have been the difference maker.
Yeah, maybe was thinking that QE would be enough by slowing the enemies, but once Akali landed that E, it was he was pretty much guaranteed dead.
As expected from Zephyrus having high impact on this game. Now the Camille's going all in. Ultimate is used, this should secure the kill. Ignite is also available. Gwen's now stuck at the top of the rift. Almost just waiting out the demise at this point.
Yeah, that was good timing from the Camille. Prepped that Q2 on the wave, and then when she E'd in, she was able to immediately access that true damage. Gwen wasn't ready for the burst.
Or overstepping again, however. The Gwen does seem relatively far out of this game at this point.
See, and you would say that, and the score would indicate that it's 3-0, but they're only up 100 gold because red side has managed to take a few plates. Look at that, the roam up from Darius to the mid lane meant that Caitlyn got 2 plates, and then the Hwei was already putting in work before the roam started, so 3 kills to 4 plates, gold is basically even. No objectives have been taken yet.
At this point in the game, the Caitlyn should also feel relatively comfortable into the Akali not having an item just yet. Due to the rushing of the boots.
What does Serrated Dirk double dagger build into?
Don't think it builds into any crit items.
Yeah, I don't think it builds into anything.
It might be for Berserker's boots. It might be serrated into Berserker's rush.
Oh, did they change Berserkers to be 2 daggers now? I feel
It's
like I
2
actually do
daggers
remember
now.
that, yeah.
Yeah, and you see the Berserkers and pickaxe picked up.
Oh, the passive.
The ultimate kills! Amazing trade from the Hwei. And very bad trade for the Gwen on the top side.
Hwei opting not to reset. Could have taken the reset there if he wanted. Maybe gonna try to greed for another plate.
Caitlyn denies the back for the Akali. Forces the Akali to stay an extra wave. Now it's interesting, the Akali has accrued a bounty.
Yeah, I think Akali could have killed the Caitlyn there if because the Akali has flash, so a flash R1 maybe would have been enough to
Another
get the
successful
kill.
all-in from the Camille.
Yeah, at this point the Gwen
it
is
might
just
be
doomed.
worth it. It might be worth putting the Hwei into the Camille at this point. Having Blackfire Torch means the wave clear will mean the Hwei is completely safe. But it's like, who do you put the Gwen into at this point? Almost everyone's ahead of the Gwen.
Yeah, and on the note of not having any good lane matchups, this is another time to mention that none of the 6 players here took Smite. One of the adaptations that we saw in our test games was that teams started taking Smite. They would just put Smite on a random person. Maybe they would buy the jungle pet, maybe they wouldn't. Maybe they would take camps, maybe they wouldn't. But having that Smite was really powerful for securing some of those Void Grubs or any of the dragons. But none of the players here going for it.
Perfect sidestep from the Hwei. It is interesting that no objectives have been taken at all so far.
Well, it's tough, right? I mean, like, Blue Side has had a few roam windows, but they've used all of their roams to kill, but I'm gonna hold my breath here. Kali and Caitlyn both have flash. Let's see if anything happens.
Caitlyn should be safe with blue team being on the top side of the map.
Ooh, Kali spotted her out, though. Not going to pop the ultimate. Interesting decision. Wait, Akali just flashed over the wall.
There's a wave in mid. Caitlyn should be able to use the wave in mid to get out, potentially. Flash already burnt. Darius and Camille have already roamed down, however. Both players are caught out completely unawares. And one Void Grub was taken as well. This is a completely winning situation. Gwen does get some free time to farm, but the kills and the Void Grub might completely offset any plating. And considering we just hit 14, the Gwen really hasn't been able to get anything back from this.
Yeah, but here's the problem is that once again, Blue Side, they were about to do the objective, but they stopped so that they could chase after some of the kills.
They do move on to the Drake though.
It's 6-1, but we still don't have a meaningful gold advantage.
They do have a feats of strength advantage, however, though. So that in itself could lead to an items advantage very shortly.
I mean, you could say that they have the advantage for it, but do they really? Because if anything, it's going to be Red Team who's going to take the first turret at this rate, and you have to take 3 full objectives in order to finish it out. Blue Side's only taken 1. Getting the singular Void Grip doesn't count. You have to get all 3 in a spawn. So we're not going to see feats of strength unless Blue Side takes both the Rift Herald and the second dragon. That's going to be at like 4 or 5 more minutes.
The roams on blue side have picked up drastically in the last few minutes. Camille does get the hook into the wall, but doesn't get the stun, uses the ultimate instead. And the Akali is also here just to secure the kill. There's no getting out of this for the Caitlyn.
But once again, look at the side lanes. They're just bleeding
Every
waves.
single
All of these
one
roams,
has
all of these kills, they're up 1k gold to show for it.
It's looking like an LPL game rather than an LCK game with these roams.
Camille's gonna be late here. Gwen might be able to take the entire turret.
Gwen
She's
does
gonna
back
opt to back off.
Did have the window, but probably would have gone down for it. But with how far behind the Gwen is, the turret might have offset the death at this point.
Yeah, I mean, like, she's 0-3. She's worth like 150 gold at this point.
Why is able to get the first turret?
Yeah, so with that, the feats of strength are basically even again.
Now, it will be interesting. Will these teams even try and prioritize Atakan?
I would imagine so. Atakan comes with some really nice buffs. I also know that because this is 3v3 and is going to have a little bit less action, we're going to see Voracious Atakan spawn a bit more. That's the one that gives you that one-time revive. I could see a world where whichever team takes that, they use their 2-minute revive to just run it down, try to end the game. What was that, Camille?
The slow is hit on. Does the Gwen have the damage? Very good trade so far. It will need a necessary dive, and that allows the Camille to get out.
Yeah, Gwen
There's no
missing
rope.
that last snip. Maybe she could have gotten the kill. What's interesting is that as far behind as Gwen is, the Camille hasn't reset yet. She's sitting on 1,700 gold, so you can see that based on the items, the Gwen and Camille were at the same breakpoint. If Gwen was going to get the shot down, that would have been basically her only chance.
Now the Caitlyn is nearly caught out, and the Akali's still able to get the perfect execution off, even with the roam from the Hwei. Now the Camille does TP in response to the Hwei, which does give time for the bot turret to go down.
Yeah, Gwen just saw Darius show mid. She's going to keep pushing.
Hwei's got a good CC chain onto the Darius here. Camille is in the area, but Darius has already gone down. Hwei is caught without flash though, so it should be a kill in return for Camille. But Gwen just gets even more time in this side lane. This deficit is slowly decreasing due to this pure amount of time in the side lane.
Looks like Camille's going to start up that Rift Herald.
If they are able to get this, that will leave them only one away. However, the amount of time spent to take this objective may or may not be worth it. But at the same time, Red Team have no one in the lane to take any turret to put any pressure on, so this might be the best opportunity to take it.
Yeah, now the interesting thing about this format is that things might have been slow moving so far, but you take this Rift Herald, if you drop it top and kill maybe one person, the game could end just like that, because the win con for these games is first to take a singular inhibitor. So if any fight, with the turrets like this, if any fight goes badly for either side, we could just see the game end just like that.
And Blue Team has been caught out on multiple occasions on side lanes, which will give them that opportunity very frequently, potentially. Talking about that opportunity, Camille was able to hit the E, done. Doesn't have ult however, and the Caitlyn flash does get her to safety.
Yeah, and I was saying before that the feats of strength would take a while to come up, but now that blue side's been able to take the Herald, if they can take this next dragon, they will be able to get that extra movement speed and the boots upgrade.
Red Team is very aware that they need to get to this top turret, but Caitlyn might be dead before they even can get there. Perfect execution lands, but the Akali does get ulted by the Hwei.
Gwen flank.
Isn't enough to take the kill. Gwen's able to get on the flank, but Camille's able to stop up most of the damage. Hwei's nowhere in range to help support the Gwen. And the Darius is also roamed up to neutralize any offensive pressure.
Hwei did manage to force out the Akali flash. Akali was scared of getting hit with Hwei's QW.
And without Rocket Belt, that does reduce Akali's mobility. Although I say that Rocket Belt is completed on that back. Akali clearly focusing the Atakan spawn. Darius is in the area, but both players would have to get there, and Gwen is already in this bottom lane.
Yeah, Akali and Camille started by running bot. I think they were thinking about the dragon, but Darius must have called for the other buff. Let's see how Red Side responds.
If they have to take this buff relatively quickly, this could be good, but if the Gwen is able to push, and if Hwei decides to TP and Caitlyn decides to BP, they could just end the game on bot side of the map if they're not quick enough. The enemy team has no TPs in response. Hwei and Caitlyn are just going to go for the mid turret, but if they all just went bot, they potentially could just end it right here and now. Although
These two can't kill Otacon, by the way.
And isn't going quick enough. Darius has already left. Akali's potentially going to go down to Atakan at this point. After all of the roams around the map, they've actually wasted so much time that this bot tier is now completely threatened, and you see the TP from Hwei. Darius is there to respond, but is able to completely deny any damage onto this turret alone. Already getting tickled down by the Hwei. And Caitlyn's got enough of a wave to crash into mid as well.
Yeah, you have to wonder if Red Side could have been a little bit more aggressive there. Got some chip damage on the tier 3.
I do think if they all grouped up together, it would have been better off. The Blast King is by some distance, but the E lands from the Camille. Caitlyn's in range, but the ultimate might seal the deal already. The Caitlyn's staying here, just going to get herself killed at this point. Hwei's already going back. And the Camille isn't allowed to land the second E. However, the Rocket Belt to close the distance from the Akali and the damage from the Camille is enough to secure the kill.
Blue side still has Rift Herald. They might try to look for an end here. The window might be a little bit small, but All they have to
Wave
do is get that
kind of
inhibitor.
Hwei has 2 burn items and the wave's thin though. They might lose 2 turrets, but Hwei might be able to deny and stall out.
Let's see if they go for a dive. They still have Ignite on the Camille.
They don't have any ultimates available to them that can start the fight for them. And with Hwei landing some poke down from a range of safety, they will lose out 1 turret, the wave being thinned so quickly.
Yeah, good return damage from Hwei. I wonder if Red side can maybe look to pressure the dragon in some way. I don't know if that's on their minds though.
It will be interesting, but after going for the Atakan and leaving that bot tier so weak, now it is on the correct side of the map and it would force the enemy team to go to the top side of the map to be able to push instead. Seems like the Camille is interested, but the Akali is completely TPing to the opposite side of the map. This would be down to Camille to solo this objective, and that seems like a lot of time to be wasted, to be fair.
Yeah, but it does seem like Red side has no clue about what's going on. Camille does have TP. She could take the dragon and then TP to the mid turret. And while the dragon buff itself doesn't really matter, this would give them the feats of strength.
But Hwei is going to get this mid turret because this Camille is too low health. Even if you TP and with Caitlyn and Hwei being there, that might just turn into a kill. Does instantly E away. Darius is forced to flash in, doesn't hit onto Caitlyn. Does Stride Breaker. But the CC from Hwei should buy a bit of space from the Caitlyn. The Caitlyn has been just completely left alone from the Hwei. And the Akali is able to find the kill onto Gwen. Even the Hwei all by himself now. And that's a triple kill from the team.
Yeah, it sucks that blue side has no teleports. In a normal circumstance, they would be able to TP top here and end. Now the question is, will they be able to end the game before red side respawns? Because if red side can't get these respawns off, blue side is now open Nexus in 2 separate lanes, essentially. It's going to be tough for them to come back from that.
They still have to get through 2 turrets in mid, and the wave's just not there. They have only 5 seconds on the Caitlyn as well. The kills didn't come out at the same time. Darius might be able to get this mid turret because of how low it is, but that's just a small cast injection in the short term.
You gotta laugh at the kill ratio. We're seeing 15-2, and yet it feels like the team that has 2 kills is the one in the driver's seat.
Also interesting to see that having a gold lead and income lead doesn't necessarily win you the game in this. Since the inhibitor is the only objective, it doesn't necessarily need you to team up all the time. You can just win through split pushing.
But like I mentioned, because Camille decided to take the dragon, we see all 3 members of blue side having those upgraded boots. These upgraded boots are pretty disgusting. The Merc Treads one gives you a magic damage shield, and then the Sork one gives you 10% bonus magic pen. We'll have to see if that makes a difference.
That's also interesting because the Darius started the game with plated, but as soon as he got into the later game, he switched back over to Mercs. Camille was able to completely win this 1v1 at this point in time, especially with the Merc Treads. The Gwen shouldn't be taking any kind of 1v1.
The only way that Gwen could even win that is if she led off with ult. So one of the problems with Gwen is that because her R3 takes so long to cast, if you don't cast it at the start of the fight, you can get burst out like that. The Gwen only managed to get 1 of her 3 ultimates off.
However, even with this gold lead, the 600 bounties forming on the enemy team will close it if they just get 1 kill. But this Hwei is caught out again, all by himself, over pushing through mid. There's no waves even anywhere nearby. And that's just another kill for the Akali.
Yeah, but I do want to point your attention to one thing, and that is this ward that Hwei managed to sneak in. And the Gwen and the Caitlyn both have TP. I wonder if they're going to try to go for a tricky backdoor.
It will be difficult, but the TPs are already coming out. Both
of
players are
them.
TPing in. Darius and Camille seem to have already recognized, and Akali is recalling as well. But Darius should
it's
already
just the end
be
of the
there.
game.
Yeah. The flanks and the TP usage from blue side to try and get kills rather than getting turrets lost them this game.
How about that, though? The game ended 17 kills to 2, and it was the 2-kill game that won. Or the 2-kill team that won.
That Gwen fell behind, but then just stayed in the sideline and got 4 or 5 turrets by herself this game.